ones that
Recording has started.
Welcome to our fifth Mekong Tourism Advisory Group call. Today, 11 June 2020. So we have around 20 people on the call. There might be a few other ones that will join us. Today, we will have three of our countries giving us an update on the current travel situation, starting with China, then Thailand, and then Vietnam. So we have representatives from the ministries of the three countries join us. Before we start with our country updates, I have invited Mr. Chris Impson from the World Travel Tourism Council, WTTC, to give us a quick update as the WTTC has just recently launched a global health safety standard label for businesses and also for destinations. And as in our previous calls we have discussed, or some people have asked, if we will be creating our own safety label for the Mekong region to position the region as a safe and healthy destination. And we believe that on one hand we should leverage what has been done with our member countries. So Thailand has done a very extensive program with their health certification for businesses. Also, Cambodia is looking to do something, and maybe some of the other countries as well. But on the other hand, I think it's also worthwhile to look at how can we leverage the work that has been done on a global basis with WTTC, as I think that will help to drive some consistency, and then which leads to trust and confidence for travelers that want to travel in the Mekong region. So with that, I'd like to give the floor to Chris for a quick explanation of the program and how it can be applied to the Mekong region. Chris, to you.
Thank you very much, Jens. Thank you. Hello again to all of you, and thanks for having me on here. I think that last time I spoke, I mentioned that we had developed protocols for a number of industries, and we are planning to release protocols for 11. But since then, we've actually also launched a stamp, which has been remarkably successful. I'd say there's a huge demand. This also means that I have lost any semblance of a personal life recently, and also that I won't have that much time with you here today. So thank you very much for allowing me to speak here now first, and to answer any questions that you may have in these 5-10 minutes that we have together. But I think probably the best way to do this is that I just go again through what the protocols are, and then to tell you about the stamp, and how you may get involved and open up for some questions. So what are the Safe Travels protocols? Well, we produced Safe Travels protocols for use by the travel and tourism sector as best practice guidelines to help restart and speed up the recovery of the sector in the wake of COVID-19. These protocols are designed basically to help to rebuild confidence among travelers and also within the sector, so that safe travel can resume once the restrictions are eased. They aim to provide consistency to destination authorities, so ministries and tourism boards and so on, as well as guidance to travel providers, operators, travelers, about the new approaches to health and hygiene now in this post-COVID-19 world that we're living in. Well, it's not post yet, to be honest. And the global protocols were developed, and this is very important, in collaboration with our members and leading industry associations and international organizations. And they take account of the current guidelines of the World Health Organization and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. So it was very important for us that there is alignment here. These are living documents which will be updated as new information becomes available about COVID-19. And we recommend that the private sector and destination authorities alike adopt a risk-based approach based on high and low risk contexts, and adapt your measures accordingly. So there is no one-size-fits-all solution here, but these are commonly aligned guidelines. The Safe Travels protocols for each key industry will basically help to provide, as I mentioned, alignment and consistency, and ensure the safety of travelers and workforces as we recover, and they're being launched in phases. So presently we have 6. We have hospitality, outdoor retail, aviation, and airports, tour operators, convention centers, meetings and events. And we are in the process of developing also protocols for short-term rentals, attractions, insurance, car rental, and cruise. And each of them has 4 pillars. Number 1 is operational and staff preparedness. Number 2 is ensuring a safe experience. Number 3 is rebuilding trust and confidence. Number 4 is implementing enabling policies. So we're now calling upon national, regional, and local destination authorities to back their adoption so that they can be implemented globally and restore the confidence that we need in this sector. So following this, we decided to launch a stamp. And the Safe Travels stamp is the world's first ever global safety and hygiene stamp for travel and tourism, and is designed specifically to address COVID-19 and similar outbreaks. The stamp will allow travelers and other travel and tourism stakeholders to recognize destination authorities and companies around the world that have implemented health and hygiene protocols that are aligned with our protocols. So all destination authorities and companies operating in travel and tourism will be able to use the stamp, provided that you comply with the protocols and have signed the terms and conditions. All of this is on our webpage. I think it's worth noting that for aviation, the Safe Travel stamp will recognize and can be used by countries and destinations that adopt the Safe Travels protocols and the ICAO takeoff guidelines for aviation. This is a particularly stringent sector, and there we do need the ICAO takeoff guidelines to be implemented and looked at first of all. Very important question that we're getting many queries about. Yes, the stamp is free to use. And a second question that we get a lot of is, no, the stamp is not a certification. It's based on self-assessment. And destination authorities and companies that use the stamp have basically confirmed that they have implemented and will ensure ongoing compliance with our Safe Travels protocols. So as I mentioned, there has been enormous success. We have already over 1,000, well, that was by yesterday's count, companies that have applied for the stamp, and also 60 national, regional, and municipal destination authorities from, I think, 33 countries at the last count yesterday. And this is steadily growing. So the information is all available on our website, including the process to go through, the information that I've just given you here. And yeah, we hope that this is of interest and that it can be useful to you, and we encourage you to go and have a look at the protocols and to reach out if you have any questions.
Great, thank you so much, Chris. And then
I have a question.
Yes, yeah. Don, please go ahead.
WTTC has just announced earlier today or yesterday the number of jobs they expect to be lost in tourism, and I'm just wondering how this certification will help alleviate that issue, because and we were talking about 132 million jobs at stake.
Yeah.
How will this alleviate that?
Well, I mean, you know, I think that demand can be affected in many ways following this this crisis. I mean, you might have some demographics where you have a pent-up demand, and you know they're unleashed onto the world once the restrictions ease. But you may also have a large number of people who are cautious following this. Perhaps, let's say, retired demographics and more risk-averse populations. And it's extremely important that people have the confidence that they need in order to be able to travel again. So this is a lot about restoring confidence.
Thank you, Don. We have another question here on the chat. Guido, who runs an OTA to kind of connect buses, ferries, and taxis and minivans. So he's asking if this also applies to these kind of sectors as well.
Sorry, can you repeat which sector for tour operators?
Buses, ferries, taxis, minivans. Maybe Guido, you want to expand or ask the question?
Yeah, Chris, you were talking about aviation only, but what about the buses, the long-haul buses that connect different provinces?
Yeah, no, sorry. I mentioned that the industry protocols that we're aiming for are hospitality. The ones that are released already are hospitality, outdoor retail, aviation, airports, tour operators, convention centers, meetings, and events. And we will also have for short-term rental, attractions, insurance, car rental, and cruise. So, and possibly more. I mean, this is the list that we have at the moment.
Does that answer your
you were
question?
asking for transport in particular, transport as in car transport or buses?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Because aviation is not the only transportation market. Look at Flixbus in Europe, covering 90% of the traffic over there. I'm sure they have their own standards already, or are forced by the governments to do something. But I'm just asking if you forgot to include the public transportation or not.
I think that forgetting is probably a strong word. I mean, this is a lot of work and a lot of alignment of industry players that is taking place here. And we're producing as much as we can and want them to be as inclusive as possible. And this list is not exhaustive. It may grow even further. So the particular protocols for transport, insofar as they relate specifically to transport, I'm not sure that we have that on our radar at the moment. But insofar as it links up to operations with attractions, with tour operators, with convention centers, and so on, yes, they will be covered in that sense. And also, as mentioned, destination authorities have the possibility of having the stamp complying with our protocols. And there is, let's say, a recognition through a destination authority stamp that tourism operations within the destination are following the protocols that are in place.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. I know you have to run. Thanks so much for the information, and we'll connect with you later on to see how we can maybe partner with WTTC in making this work also in the Greater Mekong sub-region as well. So thanks again.
Great.
And
fantastic. Thank you very much. All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye, Chris. So with that, we'll move on to our country updates. So the first one will be Mr. Yan from the Ministry of Culture and Tourism of China, joining us from Beijing. Mr. Yang, are you ready? There he is. Can you unmute yourself? There we go. Okay, thank you. We cannot hear you. We cannot hear you. Worked earlier. Maybe Ton, you can work with Mr. Yang to see how we can get him connected. Maybe then we move to Thailand quickly so we don't lose too much time. So we'll come back to China after Thailand. Okay, so I think Kun Pu, are you ready from Department of Tourism Thailand, calling in from Bangkok?
Okay. Good afternoon, colleagues from the GMS NTO and also member of MITAC and Kun Yen. Can you hear me?
I can hear you well. I can see you as well. Very good.
Okay, okay. Let me quickly update you on the current situation of COVID-19 in Thailand and what we have been doing lately. Since the outbreak of the COVID-19 last year, the total number of the infection in Thailand as of today are 3,125. Among them, 2,987 made full recovery, and we have accumulated death toll of 80. There are no new coronavirus case reported today. As the situation of COVID-19 is getting better, Thailand has entered third phase of easing COVID restrictions since the 1st of June. The curfew is shortened to 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. and almost can stay open until 9 p.m. A number of businesses were allowed to reopen, including exhibition center, amulet markets, massage parlors, child care center, fitness centers, sport complex, beauty clinic, bowling alleys, dance halls, water sports center, performance art and movie theaters, and also zoos. And in order to facilitate COVID-19 control tracking, the government has launched an online platform and application called Thai Chana. Chana means victory in Thai, to retain the country's effectiveness in COVID control measure. The Thai Chana has been developed to facilitate the government's attempt to quickly track people infected with COVID-19 and those in close contact with them. Shops, restaurants, and business owners are requested to register to the system and to provide details including contact number information, opening hours, and visitor limits, as well as complete a questionnaire about the COVID-19 control measures. Once approved, they will receive a QR code to be placed in front of their premises for customers to check in and check out from their shops. Customers then use their mobile phone to scan the code to check whether their target shop and restaurant can handle more customers under the social distancing rules. Customers can also use the application to report the government whether the shops they visited follow the COVID-19 control measures. Although travel businesses has not yet fully operated at the moment, the government has launched guidelines for tourism and travel businesses to ensure that they will provide services that meet safe and hygiene standards of the Ministry of Public Health. For example, the Department of Tourism has launched guidelines regarding business preparation for post-COVID-19 for tour businesses, tour leaders, and tourist guides. Sorry, that is in Thai, but this is the guideline for the travel business. Last but not least, I also would like to share with you about the measure to recover tourist confidence in Thailand. Tourism Authority of Thailand has launched many initiatives to encourage domestic tourism. Among them is Holidays for Heroes campaign. This campaign aims to thank medical team as frontline COVID professionals. The medical team can choose one of the holiday offers, which are tour package, airline tickets, or hotel vouchers. And that's all from Thailand, and thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Konpu. Very informative. Thank you for your presentation and your intervention. Do we have any questions from?
One from me, if I can.
Yes, Don. Please go ahead.
To Thailand, the big question is: will aviation, international airline services, reopen on the 1st of July or not? Because without that, there is no opportunity to improve tourism at all. And secondly, in Phuket, again, the airport is closed, and hoteliers are telling me that they cannot attract domestic tourism because their neighbors, Krabi, Adyai, and these other places don't have the resources for that kind of travel. They rely entirely on international business. Could you respond to that, please?
Actually, for the international flight, that question I cannot answer because it depends on the aviation authority to decide, and they need to see the situation whether they can open to commercial flight to come or not. So sorry, that question should be to the aviation authority. For the Ministry of Tourism, we cannot answer this.
Okay.
Can you answer the question on the domestic tourism and how it can be introduced to Phuket?
For Phuket, right?
Yes.
Actually, for domestic tourism, we are now trying to promote the Thai people to travel, but we just allow the Thai people to travel between provinces just only on the 1st of June that we allow the movement between the province. So for Phuket,
I mean, this is a serious issue because if you have a hotel in Phuket, the chances of you drawing domestic travel to Phuket is very slim indeed. Not if you're in Hua Hin or Pattaya, it's a wonderful opportunity because most domestic travelers live in Bangkok. But the people of Krabi, Pattaya, Songkhla don't have those financial resources to pack their bag and just go to Phuket for 3-4 days. So there has to be a different response to this for the sake of the people who are running the hotels in Phuket.
Yeah, we understand that, but we need to see the situation whether we can, what we can do. But we will take your concern to our administrative, our boss.
Thank you, Kunput. Thank you, Don. Do we have other questions?
Yes.
Yes, who is this?
Peter.
Peter,
I have a question to TAT. As long as the 14-day quarantine rule apply for all passengers, no tourists or businessmen will come to Thailand once the international flights start in July, if they start. A combination of domestic and international tourists will certainly be a better way than concentrate first on domestic. What are your thoughts, TAT, please?
Someone from TAT.
Yes.
Peter, I don't think we have TAT on the line. Kunput is with the Department of Tourism, DOT.
Oh, I
the line
see.
Ministry of Tourism and Sports. I'm not sure if Kunput can answer the question, but I don't think Kun Chatan is on the call this time. So no one from TAT here.
Okay. All right. Keep it for next time.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
I think we have another question from Stephen Howard. He chatted, but maybe Stephen, you want to ask your question yourself? Otherwise, I can read the question as well. It says, is the Thai government planning to extend the visa amnesty beyond July 31st, 2020, as Thai Airways has postponed flights until August 1st, 2020 at the earliest, and it will take time to clear the stranded passengers? I think, Kunput, you can read it in the chat.
I'm sorry for this question. I can answer for this.
Okay. Maybe we'll get back to Stephen with an answer later. Okay. Do we have any other questions for Thailand? If there's no more questions, thank you very much, Kunpu. Great presentation, and thank you for that. I think I have one more question here. Are all domestic travel restrictions lifted now? Chiang Mai had a rule that all travelers from Bangkok have to quarantine. Last question for Thailand. Are all domestic travel restrictions lifted now? Chiang Mai had a rule that all travelers from Bangkok have to quarantine.
It depends on each provinces. Each province. Yeah, some province they allow the people from other province to travel, but it depends on the governor.
Okay, thank you. Very good answer. I think this one came from Martin. Martin, did we answer your question?
Hang on. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, it's quite unclear because the rule doesn't seem to be consistently implemented, and many Thai people coming to Chiang Mai don't seem to have to do this for quite some time. But all foreigners seem to be still asked to follow the rule, and some of them have been asked to, have been checked upon by the authorities. So it's and the concern is that there will always be cases in Bangkok, so that Bangkok will never be a green province where there's no risk. So if the governor continues to do this, this means really impossible for any foreigners to come, tourists to come to Chiang Mai. It will just be, too risky. It may apply or it may not apply. And the other night, so this is something maybe TAT wants to look into to make sure that, particularly for residents in Thailand who are not from outside, that they no longer have to do this.
Kunpu, can you comment on this? I think your answer was pretty clear already. I think, Martin, it was a little bit more like a comment on that. And I think
maybe a follow-up by TA. If we are talking about making tourism possible again, then I would, as TAT, would follow up on this and ask for clarity, because yes, it is in the power of the governor, but the National Department of Disease Control has said during a public interview that this is no longer required in their view. So maybe you could check with TAT Chiang Mai, because we would love to have not only Thai tourists coming to Chiang Mai, but we would also like to have foreigners who live in Thailand come here, and they won't if this rule still applies. Okay, we can continue on the chat.
Okay, thank you, Martin. Kunpu, any last words from Thailand or comments on this?
I will take note of this, and I will talk with TAT.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kunpu. Okay, thank you, Thailand. So we'll move on to China. Okay, Mr. Yang, are you ready in Beijing? So Mr. Yang is
Oh, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Yeah, but it seems that my camera doesn't work. Then I will just dear colleagues, it's my pleasure to join the meeting today, and I would like to thank Mr. Jens for his team and his team's efforts in organizing this meeting of this kind in recent months, and also thank you for inviting me to join these meetings. China has domestically brought this COVID-19 pandemic under control in an effective way. Before June 6, we have consecutive 13 days of no confirmed cases, In the past several days, we have no confirmed cases also. Today, there is no confirmed local case in China, and the 11 cases, confirmed cases, are all from abroad. Therefore, right now, most of our concern about the COVID-19 in China is the cases from outside of China. During last METAC meeting, I introduced the tourism data of the May Day holiday in China. There were 115 million domestic tourists, and the total tourism revenue was about 48 billion RMB in the holiday of 5 days. In fact, on May 1st, there were no confirmed case in China. If we compare this data with that of 2019, both the tourist number and revenue are much lower than those of last year. But if we compare the data with that of Tomb Sweeping Day, which was on April 4th, when there are only 5 local confirmed cases in China, these domestic tourists and revenue are increasing remarkably. We can see, the confidence about the safety of the tourists are coming back. Right now, we are gradually in a planned and orderly way to relax the restrictions. For example, on June 6, the receiving tourists quota has increased to 50% of the tourist attractions capacity, and also we are also opening the theaters, the culture centers to the public. Of course, on the condition that all the preventive and control measures have to be in place. So I think good things are happening. People, right now, the majority area of China are low risk area, and so I think the next holiday will be the Dragon Boat Festival in the week of in the week after next week. So we can see the data then. I think it will be better in my personal opinion. So that's a rough update about China's tourism development right now. For maybe I don't want to spend much time on our policy and also on the measures we took for the tourism industry, because we have many measures to support them. But during this meeting, I just would like to give you a brief update about the situation in China right now. Thank you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Yang. Thank you from Beijing. Do we have any questions for China? See if we have something on the chat. For China, we have another question from Stephen Howard here for China. For the May Day holiday in 2019, how many domestic travelers and what was the revenue?
In 2019, right? Last year.
Yes.
Last year, in fact, because we have to note that the days are different. For example, this year, May Day holiday it is 5 days. But in 2019, there were 4 days in that holiday. So last year, it is 195 million domestic tourists.
Okay, Stephen, does this answer your question? Okay, I assume so. So any other questions regarding China? If not, then we will move on to Vietnam. One question from Don. Okay, Don, you want to ask the question yourself?
China and Singapore have a fast lane policy which does away with the quarantine rule and helps people get in. Where will the next one be? Which countries in Southeast Asia or in the Mekong region are likely to get this similar kind of agreement?
In fact, right now, it is our Ministry of Foreign Affairs who are in charge of this negotiation. I don't have I don't have the information about who will be the next country, but we have to note that this policy is for the essential. How to say? For example, if they have some essential business here, and for example, they are maybe they are the essential management or essential technicians in the factory here. They need to come back to China for their operation, for the running. So this channel is for this this essential technician or management for the business industry.
Okay.
I hope my information will help.
Well, I think most people were hoping it would also be for leisure travel, because
in fact,
countries would like to see the Chinese travelers returning quickly.
Yeah. In fact, we totally understand the desire. It is also our desire, to have this mutual tourism exchange, the mutual flow of people. But right now we are, although we have, take it under control, but we are take it in a very serious and cautious, way. So we need to see the momentum. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, China. Thank you, Mr. Yang. Any other questions to China? If not, then we will move on to Vietnam. Joining us from Hanoi, Vietnam National Administration of Tourism, and I believe Ms. Nung, who is a director there, will join us and give us an update on the situation in Vietnam. Nung, are you ready? One. Okay. May have some technical difficulties with Vietnam right now, so we hope we can resolve it. Until that, Kun Ton is trying to reach them now to see how we can make it work. My apologies for the delay. Maybe until then, until we have Vietnam join us to give an update, I wanted to give you a quick update as well from us. Just today, just actually this hour, we have announced a strategic partnership with SunX. We will share the press release later on today on climate resilience. Bend Our Trend is a global campaign which was launched in partnership with the World Travel and Tourism Council, WTTC, and Malta as the first country. So Mekong region is the first region in the world to join this campaign as well, as we find it a priority and very important to not only look at the tourism recovery after COVID, but also look at climate-friendly travel. So SunX is led by Professor Jeffrey Lipman, who is the former Deputy Secretary General of the UNWTO and the first president of the WTTC. And Jeffrey actually will join us next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Bangkok time for our second strategic roundtable. So we're very excited about this strategic partnership as we believe that obviously climate change and climate-friendly travel have to be priorities for this region as we look at a sustainable and responsible tourism industry. We're also working on another partnership with One Planet, which is a partnership with UNEP and the UNWTO on a focus on single-use plastic reduction. So they have launched last January in Madrid at FITUR conference the Global Tourism Plastic Initiative, and so we're looking to become a signatory of that initiative for the Mekong region. So these are quick updates from us. Let me check with Kunton how. Nothing yet on Vietnam. I believe Vietnam is on the call. If we cannot make it work, then I apologize, and we have to do Vietnam at another time.
Can I?
Yes, Don.
Myanmar yesterday announced 3 important phases of recovery. And I would really like to hear more about this, especially when aviation will open up again and how these phases will work over the next few weeks. Because I think it was an important announcement that was indicated where Myanmar is going over the next few months.
Yes, I think Myanmar is getting quite proactive. Obviously, we have split the country updates. More that Myanmar, together with Cambodia and Laos, will give an update in a couple of weeks. But we have the former Minister of Hotels and Tourism on the call as well. Excellency Uteong, maybe if you could, if you're able, I hate to put you on the spot here, but if you're able to comment maybe and respond to Don's question, that would be great.
Can you hear?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear my voice?
We can hear you and we can see you, Excellency.
Okay. So thank you for the question, Don. The thing is, we are very cautious about how we are going to reopen the international gateways to international travelers like that. But the thing is, the big question is from the side of the from the side of the COVID-19 problems. So that's why the Ministry of Health and also the Ministry of Transport, they are very careful about this situation. If everything is clear, now we have a growth in the number of affected persons, but there's a gradual situation. So one day, now it is extended to the end of this month. But after that, there will be some changes. Maybe we will be sticking on the previous situation, or maybe just open the country in a gradual development like that. So let's see the situation first. like other countries, we are not able to say the specific questions which is asked by our friends in the region. That's it.
Thank you very much, Excellency. Don, did that answer your question or any other comments?
Yes. I mean, the Myanmar Tourism Federation actually made the announcement about, I think it was yesterday evening, where they outlined 3 phases, which one of them was reopening a long-term points up to the end of the year almost. And it appeared that the aviation ban was still in place until June 15th, but it seemed to suggest that maybe after June 15th, there could be a slight relaxation in some of the airline rules to allow some form of travel into Myanmar. But like I say, it was a statement of intent that Myanmar is going to do 3 phases of recovery, and reading it seemed to be a very, very positive move forward.
Another thing is we should also think about the reciprocal basis from, say, like neighboring countries. If they start doing, we will also comply with their activities. It should be on the reciprocal basis.
Thank you, Excellency. Thank you, Don. Any other comments, maybe as we're on Myanmar? I know we have a couple people that are working in the Myanmar industry. We have also Do Chichie, who is active in the Myanmar Tourism Federation. Not sure, Do Chichie, if you have any other comments that you want to share, or other people that like Birdie that work actively in the Myanmar tourism industry.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Jens. Actually, this, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you and see you.
Okay, that's good. I wasn't very sure. On Don's question, I think that's a very good question. Actually, Myanmar Tourism Federation has put up a press release, but I'm not aware of that press release, as Don has said. But what I'm aware of is that the Ministry of Hotels and Tourism has circulated a COVID-19 Myanmar Tourism Strategic Roadmap, and that has been sent out to the definitely. The strategies, the 3 phases is, number 1 is survival, and that survival package is self-financing and stimulus package, which the government has launched in the CERP. And this is immediate, of course, and that would run within, it has already started in April and also in May, and now it's continuing in June. So the action programs, of course, are very detailed: relaxation of tax, waiving of license fees and lease fees for hotels and tourism business, and of course the stimulus package for the tour operators and the hotels and the SMEs, and also easing the especially on the tourism professionals. So what they intend to do is have a training program. There would be a 2 training program in coming up in June, and that is for those who are employed, and they need to sort of upgrade their skills. And another would be, especially at the grassroots level, and another program is for those who are unemployed, and so they need to have a upgrade skill development program. Another strategy 2, the phase 2.1 is reopening, which is the relaxation of lockdown and quarantine, and that would be in June, July, and August. And as His Excellency, the former minister, has stated, it has got to be done phase by phase. Now it's June 15. So after June 15, we'll have to wait and see whether there will be an extension of another 15 days. And this is a announcement which comes from the Ministry of Health and Sports, and also from the main committee. The reopening, of course, we've got to work with the health and safety of travelers and staff, and also conducting training programs, which is a continuation, because we've got the DMOs in the states in the region, so they need to have trainings, and it's a very big country, and we need to work on that. So the communication is going on, and they are working together. I heard that this discussion is going on with the Swiss contact, with Luxembourg development, and so on. The third step is the relaunching and the reinventing, which is the Myanmar tourism and relaxation of regulations. So that is after August 2020, and it'll go on till January 2021. So I hope that is in brief, and if there's more information that is needed, please do not hesitate to communicate to MTF or to Ulamin. He has all this information. Thank you, Don.
Thank you, Dorchi Chie.
Thank you very much.
Don, any other questions? Any other questions regarding Myanmar? How are we looking with Vietnam? Vietnam, we do have some technical difficulties right now, so I think we will do the Vietnam update at a later point at our next meeting. So for that, I think we're hitting 5 o'clock. If there is no other comments or interventions from anyone, we will close this meeting. And thank you for your attention for our fifth MeTech meeting. With that, I'd like to also remind you next Tuesday, June 16th at 4 p.m. Bangkok time, the same call-in information with Blue Jeans, same call-in information as today. We have our second strategy roundtable discussion. This with Professor Jeffrey Lippman, I just mentioned before, who used to be the Deputy Secretary General of the World Tourism Organization and the first president of the World Travel Tourism Council, and currently the CEO of SUNEX, which is focusing on climate-friendly travel and climate resilience. So with that, I thank everyone. I wish everyone nice rest of the day and a beautiful weekend. If you can travel domestically, please support our businesses. We also working now. We have closed our survey. We have done a survey for our Experience Mekong Collection members, which are 300 plus small responsible travel businesses and social enterprises. We're now working on analyzing the information, which is very interesting. I can tell you already that over 84% of the businesses, have lost businesses compared to last year. So I think we will look at, making this data available very soon. So with that, thank you very much. We're now 5 o'clock. If there are no other comments, thoughts, ideas, or feedback, I will say thank you very much, and we'll close the meeting for today. There are no other thoughts? Thank you, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Recording has